Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy, just here by myself in the NWTV7 studio today. If you like what you heard so far, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, whether it be the NWTV7 YouTube channel or the Guys Who Stare at Stats channel located in the description of the video. Now, on to the episode. Well, everybody, it is a good day for OU fans all across the nation because the softball team has won their 6th national title. And as much as I would love to just do a show celebrating that national title and nothing else, because, now my shirt is outdated. Now I got to get a new one. This is what happens when you win too much. You got to buy new shirts. We've got other news to talk about. We do have a little bit of breaking news an hour and a half ago that came in to talk about, being that Cincinnati, Houston, UCF have officially reached their exit deal with the American Athletic Conference, meaning that officially on July 1st, 2023, in 13 months, we will see the new look of the Big 12. So this will be the final college football season where the Big 12 is what it is now. It feels like almost every decade the Big 12 changes now. In the 90s, you had the death of the Big 8 and Southwest Conference merging to create the Big 12. Then in the 2010s, you had the realignment of Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, Texas A&M leaving. And now here we are for the 2020s, and we're getting another round of realignment where Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU will officially join. Now, this is an interesting time because Oklahoma and Texas are slated to join the SEC in 2025. So the thought process would be that these 4 new schools would play OU and Texas for 2 years. However, I really don't know if that's going to happen because OU and Texas, I know, want to get to the SEC as fast as possible. They want to get there, but they don't want to spend, $80 million or whatever the deal is the Big 12 are going to make them pay for TV rights and everything like that. I still think OU and Texas is possible, personally, in 2023 or 2024. I really find it hard to believe both OU and Texas would stay until 2025, honestly. I really don't think that's a thing that either school wants to happen. And so I would think that we will see probably late July, if something is going to happen with SEC Media Days and everything going on, if something is going to happen, whether it be next year or 2024, I think we'll get some more knowledge then. Another thing about this is the Oklahoma-Georgia football series is supposed to begin in 2023. There have been rumors that I've heard that game may not be played in 2023, whether that be because of Oklahoma and Georgia being conference members, whether it be some other reason of either Georgia trying to back out of the game or whatever else going on there. So it will be something to keep an eye on, and it always is interesting. I'm a big fan of conference realignment news, as you probably know by this point, so I love keeping up with little things like this, and it's one of those things that makes college football unique. You don't really have this in other leagues where people jump across every other time, especially in North American sports. So it's one of the few times where we see new universities move in to play other universities. I'd like to see an OU Cincinnati series. I'd like to see an OU UCF series. I'd like to see an OU BYU series, but at the same time, I'm ready to play Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Arkansas and LSU and all those fun matchups as well. So if OU could get to the SEC as soon as possible, I would like to see that personally as an OU fan, but I really think it's going to be 2024. I still think 2024, 2023, I feel like it's going to be the OU to the SEC move. But, of course, nothing is official on that, so we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of Oklahoma, they get their 6th softball national championship, a 10-5 win over Texas, and this was fun. This was a lot of fun. This was a interesting game from the get-go. Texas had a game plan. You have Estelle check out on the mound, and she did a phenomenal job, considering the task you have to deal with of trying to contain one of the best offenses in college softball history. I felt that she did a phenomenal job. For 3 innings, Oklahoma legitimately looked a little lost out there, I guess is the best way to put it offensively. The Sooners did not seem on time. It looked weird. OU was having to rely on their defense to keep them in the game. I mean, you had Jada Coleman robbing a home run in the first inning. I mean, this could have gotten out of hand. You know, Oklahoma doesn't make a few amazing defensive plays. This could have been a 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 type of game. Texas could have jumped on Oklahoma immediately, and we might be talking about a whole different ball game. But instead, you get to the 4th inning, Brito gets a hit, and then Kenzie Hansen gets aboard. Oklahoma's able to start getting some things together to tie the game, and then getting a crucial out, I think. I really say the turning point of this game was the bottom of the 4th inning, where you get a double for Texas that should have been a double. Let me rephrase that here. We're trying to get a double where Smith gets a single out to right center field, comes around trying to get to second, but was not there to get to second base, and she gets tagged out. And that was the real full momentum shift that had happened. OU created the momentum, tied the game, gets that amazing defensive play, and that switched the entire game. That turned it into, okay, this is Oklahoma's game to lose now. Tied up at 2, going into the 5th inning. It's time for Oklahoma to do Oklahoma things. And that's exactly what happened. Kenzie Hansen, being the hero of the game, I guess you could say, with a 3-run home run in the 5th inning, turning it into a 5-2 game. And my goodness, Oklahoma just exploded from there, winning the game 10-5, gave up a 3-run home run late in the game. I know certain people were not happy about that. You know, why is Trotwine in the game? You got to let the senior close it out. I understand people got a little antsy. I was a little antsy too. I don't like giving up late stuff like that. But at the same time, you got to let the senior finish it off, I would think. But 10-5, Oklahoma wins it. And I mean, just the main contention with Oklahoma this year, you have a record of 59-3. That is the best record Oklahoma has ever posted in softball of the 6 national championship teams. And I really think there's a good argument for this being the greatest Oklahoma softball team of all time, and possibly the greatest softball team of all time. When you look at some of these 90s UCLA and Arizona teams and 80s UCLA teams, they're a lot more different, I guess you could say. Softball was in a different place back then. This is definitely the greatest offense of all time, I guess you could say, for Oklahoma these last 2 years, or pick a year, 2021 or 2022. You really can pick either one. But I would make a case that because of not only the pitching they've had this year, the offense they've had, and how they've been able to pretty much run through everybody, and how, I mean, this was a 10-2 game in the 6th inning. This would have been a run rule. Oklahoma beat Texas 16-1 in the first game. That would have been a run rule. You had 40 run rules on the season and could have had 42 if the rules allowed it. I've never seen a softball team as dominant as this. We may never see a softball team as dominant as this again, as more than likely the greatest player in the sport of softball. I don't know how long Ala will be remembered as that, because, I mean, Tiara Jennings is already trying to chase her down and is halfway there. But when you see the GOAT of college softball in Jocelyn Alo, and you see some of the insane pitching that Oklahoma's had this year with Jordy Ball, Hope Trotwine, Nicole May, what else do you want me to say? This is the greatest softball team of all time. And I'm glad to have watched them, to see some of the best players ever to play the game, all on one team. And Oklahoma's going to be back. They do lose quite a bit. You're not going to see some of the offense, I think, next year for the Sooners. But, you know, they'll still be top 5, I think, maybe even top 3. They'll still be in contention for a national championship, of course. But it really will be something special to be remembered for Oklahoma, going back-to-back in 2021, 2022. And I think that just shows how dominant OU softball is. In the last 6 years, OU has made the national championship game 5 times. They made it to that series 5 different times: 16, 17, 19, 21, and 22. It is absolutely ridiculous what Oklahoma has been able to do in college softball. And there will be a lot of statues built probably in the next 5 years. I know I've seen, build Jocelyn Allo a statue, build Patty Gasso a statue, get Lauren Chamberlain a statue. I mean, everyone's going to have a statue. We might legitimately have more statues for this new softball stadium than Heisman Park at Oklahoma. That's a legit possibility with how many elite players have come through the program, and it has just been so fun to watch as an OU fan. And it'll continue to be fun to watch. College softball continues to grow. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Oklahoma is a softball state and is the softball state. It is a softball state because of the talent the state produces, but it's also the softball state because of Oklahoma winning another national title, Oklahoma State making the Final Four, essentially getting to the semifinals, the run they've been able to have, Rogers State winning a Division II national championship, Rogers State in Claremore, Oklahoma, and UCO finishing in the Super Regionals in the NCAA D2 poll, finishing as a top 10 team, is number 9 in the country, UCO in Edmond. And then you look at even NAIA, Oklahoma City University wins a softball championship, and USAO out of Chickasha, University of Science and Arts, they finished top 3. They finished in the semifinals as well in the Final Four there. And even Seminole State College getting close to a national championship. Murray State getting close to a national championship in softball. There is so much good softball in this state. It is absolutely insane. There's more championship level teams in one sport in this state alone than there is anywhere else in the country. And that is something truly remarkable that really does need to be appreciated more. And if it was a bigger sport, I feel like people would, but softball continues to grow. It's something I hope people continue to invest in because you see, nearly football-like atmospheres, I guess you could say. As someone who's been around football my entire life, seeing 12,500 people show up, and it felt like an OU Texas football game. It really did. You could see the crowd into it, all the signs, the horns down, the everything from the OU fans like you would expect. One side happy, one side sad, as always with OU Texas. It really is getting more and more popular, softball is, and that's something I'm absolutely happy to see. And, as an OU fan, I hope OU continues their dominance. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next few years to see, can Oklahoma continue the dominance that they've had? You have 6 national titles in 22 years. Patty Gasso's now 3 national titles away from breaking Mike Andrea's record for the most softball titles all time. They're 1 away from tying football. This is something I was talking about yesterday to one of my friends. Oklahoma football's got to be a little nervous that softball's getting close to catching up to them. Oklahoma football is actually a gateway drug to Oklahoma softball to see the real dominant sport. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few years. I know Brent Venables was there for the OU Texas games. I wish they would have brought the golden hat to the game. I know they gave golden visors out, but I wish they would have brought the golden hat. How fun would that be to see the softball team wearing the golden hat? But that's about enough of me talking about OU softball. I could talk about this stuff all day. But moving on to the NHL, Game 5 last night also going on. Tampa Bay getting a 3-1 win over the New York Rangers in a game that kind of went how I thought it would. Back and forth the entire game. Ryan Lindgren halfway through the second period gets the show started for the Rangers with a goal, makes it 1-0, and good old Mikhail Sergachev for the Bolts ties it up 7 minutes later. It's 1-1 going into the third period, and then the Lightning did what I said the Lightning would do. Final 10 minutes of the game, they turn it on. They turn back into their championship caliber team we've seen forever. And Palat and Hagel getting back-to-back goals in 2 minutes to get a 3-1 win and bringing the series back to Tampa with a chance to close it out. This is something that I know Andrew and I both predicted this on the show. Tampa's got a real good shot at closing this thing out now. They really do. But, you look at stats-wise, everything was pretty similar. Tampa Bay had 2 more shots, had 4 fewer hits, had 4 fewer penalty minutes, but won 6 more faceoffs. So both teams pretty similar. I wouldn't say there was one main key difference that separated the two. It was just Tampa Bay did what Tampa Bay does best. In the clutch, they execute, and that's what you have to do to win these big-time games. So looking at Game 6, which is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on ESPN, back in Tampa, Lightning are favored as you would expect, and I think they take it. I think they have all momentum riding right now. They're playing like the Tampa Bay team we expect them to be, and I think Tampa Bay closes it out, and we'll see the Lightning take on the Avalanche in the Stanley Cup Final. I originally said Lightning in 7. Now I'm changing a little bit to Lightning in 6. So I still think Tampa Bay is going to win it. Just give them a few extra days of rest, I guess you could say. And then finally, the game tonight, the big one on ABC at 8 o'clock tonight, Golden State and Boston. Going to be a fun time in the TD Garden for this one. Steph Curry expected to play in this one. I know he's listed as day-to-day. Curry said he felt fine and will be playing in Game 4, so I fully expect that. Celtics are a 4-point favorite in this one, and I think Boston's going to get it done. I know I talked about this on the Thursday show a little bit, which you can find on twitch.tv/NWTV7. If you look in our archives there, you should be able to find that episode. I really think Boston is going to close this series out. I originally thought Golden State would take it, but the more and more Boston has showed me just how impressive their defense is. The Warriors cannot do anything in the fourth quarter. This entire series has been a problem for them when they get to the fourth quarter. They always have a good third quarter and a bad fourth. And until they figure out how to keep that momentum going into the fourth quarter, they're going to have problems. They're going to absolutely have problems. And I know Boston's going to want to amp it up a notch. I know that crowd is going to be electric tonight after how the Warriors fans have, or not the Warriors fans, but the Warriors players have kind of acted about the Boston crowd, saying, they don't really appreciate some of the things that have been said. They're going to take it to a whole nother level. They absolutely are. You're just poking the bear at that point. You don't want to get them started or swarmed into a frenzy, but that feels like exactly what's going to happen. So I expect Boston to come in and play well tonight and get the win. I really want to see how the Warriors adjust. I honestly wouldn't mind, if Draymond starts struggling or something like that, trying to play a weirder small ball version, maybe get Curry, Claypool, Wiggins out there and maybe keep Looney in or something like that. I really don't know what you can do if you're Golden State that you haven't already done. They've tried doing some other stuff. I mean, even when Steph Curry and Klay Thompson play well, you've got to have a third and fourth guy almost to step up when a Marcus Smart catches fire or an Al Horford plays well or, even Time Lord, Robert Williams plays well or Grant Williams even. When someone else steps up for Boston, Golden State's going to need 4 guys to step up. When only 2 step up with Boston and Brown and Tatum, then maybe you can win it with 3 players in 20 figures. But until you figure out how to stop Boston, I like the Celtics in this one. I really do. It's going to be an interesting game for sure because if Boston takes this, you're up 3-1 going back to San Francisco, and you have an opportunity to close Golden State out. Of course, the Warriors win. You even it out at 2 and feel a lot better about yourself going back home. But that will be all for today. Just a little edition of the show. Not a whole lot to talk about in this one, especially with no one else here. Andrew on his way to St. Louis, and I know Connor was busy with other things as well. Such is life. But until next time, for myself, for pretty much everyone here at NWTV7, we thank you for watching as always. If you did like what you heard today, please sure to give us a follow here on Twitch. Subscribe to the NWTV7 YouTube channel. Like the video there. Subscribe to our The Guys Who Stare at Stats YouTube channel as well. Link to that will be in the description below. If you want to know what time we start, usually Tuesday to Thursday at 5:30 here on twitch.tv/NWTV7. If you want other updates, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Until next time, have a good one, everybody.